Growing up, my sister Lily was the golden child. She got the praise, the gifts, the extra attention. I was the quiet one, the one who was expected to understand when my achievements were overlooked. If Lily got an A on a test, my parents threw a celebration. If I got the same grade, they simply nodded and said, "That's nice." It became the unspoken rule. Lily was the star, and I was the supporting act in my own life. By the time we were adults, I had learned to keep my head down and focus on my own goals. I worked hard, built a stable career, and slowly created a circle of friends who valued me for who I was. Then, at a friend's birthday dinner, I met Ryan. He was charming without trying to be, attentive without being overbearing. We hit it off instantly, and before I knew it, one date turned into two, then into a 3-year relationship built on trust, laughter, and late-night conversations about everything from politics to our favorite childhood cartoons. Ryan was different from anyone I'd ever dated. He made me feel safe, but also seen, like I wasn't invisible anymore. So when he proposed during a weekend trip to the mountains, it felt like my life was finally shifting in my favor. I said yes through tears, and we celebrated with champagne by the fire. For once I felt like I had my own moment in the spotlight, away from my sister's shadow. Naturally, I wanted to share the news with my family. My parents congratulated me, but it was in that polite, detached way they always did. Lily, on the other hand, smiled tightly, her eyes darting between me and Ryan's hand on mine. She gave me one of those brief, stiff hugs that feel more like a transaction than affection. It was subtle, but I recognized the signs. Lily was not happy for me. At first, I told myself I was overthinking it, because she was just surprised or caught off guard. But 2 weeks later, my phone rang with Ryan's mother on the other end. She sounded concerned. "Sweetheart, is everything all right between you and Ryan?" I froze. When I asked why she would think otherwise, she hesitated before explaining that Lily had called her. Apparently my sister told her that I was only marrying Ryan for his money, painting me as some kind of manipulative gold digger. My heart pounded in my ears. Couldn't believe she had gone that far. This wasn't just casual sibling rivalry. This was sabotage. I confronted Lily the next day, but she shrugged it off with a smirk. "Just looking out for him," she said, as if spreading lies about me was some noble duty. I stared at her, realizing she genuinely thought she could twist the narrative without consequences. That's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to play defense anymore. I started quietly saving every text, every voicemail, every small piece of proof of what she was doing. I didn't know exactly how or when, but one day, I was going to make sure everyone knew exactly who Lily really was, and I'd do it without giving her a single chance to paint herself as the victim. After my confrontation with Lily, I tried to focus on wedding planning, but it was impossible to relax knowing she was working against me in the shadows. Ryan reassured me, insisting he trusted me completely, but I could tell her words had left a small crack of doubt. That's what she was good at, planting seeds and letting them grow in other people's minds. I kept my distance from her, yet she seemed to pop up everywhere. At my bridal shower, she made jokes about how Ryan was such a generous man, and how I must feel so lucky to land someone like him. Her tone was syrupy sweet, but her eyes never left mine. I smiled politely, refusing to give her the satisfaction of her reaction, even though my stomach twisted. Behind the scenes, I started gathering allies. I spoke privately to my cousin Megan, who had also been on the receiving end of Lily's manipulations. Megan wasn't surprised by what I told her. In fact, she said she'd heard Lily making similar comments about me at a family barbecue weeks earlier. She promised to keep an ear out and let me know if she heard anything else. Then came the rehearsal dinner. It should have been a warm, celebratory night, but Lily showed up late, breezing in with exaggerated apologies and stealing attention immediately. She pulled Ryan aside for a private talk that lasted far too long. When they returned, Ryan's face looked tense, though he brushed it off when I asked. That was the moment I realized Lily's tactics weren't just petty, they were calculated. That night, unable to sleep, I scrolled through my messages and started organizing my evidence. Screenshots of her gossiping about me to relatives, recordings of her little jokes that crossed the line, even an email she'd accidentally sent to me instead of her friend, where she described me as pathetic and desperate to be the center of attention for once. Every bit of it went into a neatly organized folder. 2 days before the wedding, I got a text from Megan. "You're not going to believe this." She sent me a screenshot of Lily's post in a private family group chat I wasn't included in. Lily had written that she was genuinely worried I was making a mistake and that she hoped someone would talk sense into me before it's too late. Even hinted that Ryan might be reconsidering the wedding. That was my breaking point. I realized if I stayed quiet, Lily would always find a way to undermine me. Not just now, but in every major life event to come. I had been underestimated my whole life, and that was about to change. So I made a plan. On the morning of the wedding, before guests arrive, I would pull Lily aside and present everything I'd collected. Not to beg for her to stop, but to make it clear that I wasn't afraid of her anymore. And if she crossed me again, I'd make sure her carefully crafted golden child image shattered beyond repair. The morning of my wedding was supposed to be filled with nerves and excitement. Instead, I woke up with a single focus: confronting Lily. My dress hung in the corner, untouched, as I reviewed my evidence one last time. The screenshots, recordings, and messages were neatly organized on my tablet, ready to be shown at a moment's notice. When I arrived at the venue, the air was crisp, the flowers were perfect, and guests were already starting to gather. I caught a glimpse of Ryan talking to his groomsmen, smiling like nothing was wrong. I wanted to keep it that way. He didn't need to see me fight this battle right before we said our vows. Lily arrived late, of course. She floated in wearing a designer dress that could have been mistaken for a bridesmaid's gown if it weren't for the fact that she wasn't in the wedding party. She made her rounds, greeting people like she was the star of the day. That false warmth in her voice was like nails on a chalkboard. I motioned for her to follow me to a quiet corner near the side garden. She smirked as if she'd been expecting this. "Finally realized you're making a mistake?" she asked, tilting her head. Without a word, I pulled up my tablet and began scrolling through the proof. The recordings of her mocking me, the screenshots of her gossip, the email she accidentally sent. I watched her smug expression falter with each piece of evidence. By the time I got to the group chat messages, her face had drained of color. "You've been trying to ruin my relationship for months," I said quietly. "But what you don't realize is that I've been watching, and I'm done letting you control the narrative." She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised my hand to stop her. "If you so much as whisper another lie about me to anyone, this entire collection will be sent to every single family member, your friends and Ryan. And if you think they'll side with you after hearing this, you're wrong." For the first time in years, she looked cornered. There was no sarcastic comeback, no sly smirk, just silence. After a moment, she muttered, "Fine," and walked away, her shoulders tense. I returned to the bridal suite, my heart pounding but lighter than it had been in weeks. I didn't tell Ryan what had just happened. This was my fight, and it was over. At least for now. When I walked down the aisle later that day, Lily sat in the second row, her expression unreadable. She didn't speak during the reception, didn't pull Ryan aside, and didn't make a single comment about me all night. It wasn't the warm sibling bond I used to wish for, but it was peace. And for the first time in my life, I realized peace with Lily was worth more than her approval could ever be. The weeks after the wedding felt like a dream. Ryan and I returned from our honeymoon with sun-kissed skin, shared inside jokes, and a sense that we had truly started our life together. For a while, it seemed like Lily had kept her word. No snide remarks, no whispered rumors, no late-night accidental texts. But Lily's silence wasn't peace. It was preparation. I should have recognized it. When she's quiet, it usually means she's planning something. The first sign came at our parents' anniversary dinner. She was overly sweet, complimenting my dress, asking about our honeymoon. But I noticed her eyes flicker toward Ryan every time she spoke. 2 days later, Ryan mentioned he'd received a message from one of Lily's friends. According to the message, Lily had been telling people she wasn't sure Ryan married me for the right reasons, and that he might have a wandering eye. Ryan brushed it off, saying he didn't care what she thought, but I knew. If these lies spread, they could cause real damage. I decided I wasn't going to wait for the storm to hit. I reached out to an old friend of mine who worked in event planning. Coincidentally, she had been contacted by Lily to organize a small family get-together at her house. The guest list, nearly every relative we had, plus a few of Ryan's friends. It didn't take much guessing to realize what Lily was planning. She was going to make some kind of public scene. So, I came up with a plan of my own. IRSVPD, yes, and told Ryan we should both go. He was hesitant, but I assured him it would be fine. What I didn't tell him was that I would be bringing my tablet again, loaded with every new piece of evidence I'd collected since the wedding. Screenshots of her messages, voice notes from people she'd tried to recruit, and even a short video of her complaining about me to a mutual friend at a cafe. When we arrived at Lily's house that Saturday evening, everything looked normal on the surface. Candles, appetizers, light music playing in the background. She greeted us with an almost theatrical warmth, and I knew for sure she was up to something. Halfway through the evening, as people were mingling in the living room, she stood and tapped her glass for attention. My stomach tightened. This was it. She began with a sweet speech about family being everything and always looking out for each other. But then, her tone shifted. Sometimes, she said, glancing my way, we have to be honest about things, even when it's uncomfortable. I stepped forward before she could finish her sentence. That's a great idea, Lily. Let's be honest with everyone. The room went silent. I could feel every eye in the room on me, but I didn't flinch. I set my tablet on the coffee table, angled so everyone could see. Since Lily wants to talk about honesty, I said evenly, let's clear a few things up tonight. Lily's smile wavered. This isn't. First, I interrupted, tapping the screen to play the first voice note. Lily's own voice came through, crystal clear. Ryan will get bored of her in a year. I'm just waiting for him to realize it. Gasps rippled through the guests. Ryan's jaw tightened, his eyes locked on his sister. Next came screenshots of her messages to various family members, all filled with little digs at me, unfounded rumors about Ryan, and attempts to convince people I was manipulative. I didn't need to say much. The evidence spoke for itself. A few of our relatives shifted uncomfortably, clearly recognizing their own words from her conversations. Lily's face flushed red. You're twisting this? You don't understand? I played the final clip. The video my friend had recorded at the cafe. There she was, animated and smug, telling someone that she could break them up if she really wanted to. That was the nail in the coffin. Ryan stood then, his voice firm but calm. Lily, I have tried to be patient with you. I have overlooked your behavior for years, hoping you'd respect my choices. But this is beyond cruel. You've been trying to ruin my marriage before it even began. Lily's eyes darted around, searching for support, but no one spoke. Even her usual allies looked away. Our parents sat stone-faced, disappointment etched in every line. I took a deep breath. I'm done being polite about this. From now on, you are not welcome in our home until you can treat both of us with respect. No more whispered rumors, no more games. Either you stop or you lose your brother for good. Ryan nodded in agreement, and that's my decision too. You're the first time that night, Lily looked truly shaken. She opened her mouth to speak, then shut it again. Without another word, she grabbed her purse and stormed out. The room was silent until the sound of the front door slamming echoed through the house. Some guests quietly excused themselves after that, while others came up to us, apologizing for believing her lies. Ryan squeezed my hand, and I could feel the tension melting from his grip. We had faced her head-on together. Later that night, as we sat on the couch at home, Ryan turned to me. I'm sorry you had to deal with her for so long. I smiled faintly. I'm just glad we handled it now. She may try again, but next time, now we're ready. The truth was out, the damage to her credibility done. Lily had played her last card and lost.